here we are, another TLOPO video. Once again, looking at some of the issues the game is facing and offering more solutions. So let's not waste any time here. A simple fact is that the majority of the TLOPO community now consists of looters. Just look up TLOPO on YouTube. Almost all of the results are videos of looting different bosses, collecting weapons, and so on. There isn't a healthy balance of different populations within the game. This lack of a balance has led to certain groups feeling alienated, feeling left out, like the game's developers aren't necessarily listening to them and what they have to say. Looking at things from the development side, it makes sense to be taking the word of the looting community a little more seriously. They are the bulk of the game's population. They are the ones that have been consistently playing the game. But having a game population where the majority of people play just to collect different weapons is not sustainable. In fact, it's detrimental to fostering and maintaining a healthy and sizable community on the game. We've seen whole portions of the game's population, like the role-playing community, fizzle out, and the PvP and SVSing communities attempt to organize to drive activity amongst themselves. But those efforts were just not enough. So what do? We need to promote interaction across these faction lines per se. Promote real and natural interaction between all communities on this game outside of just community events or standing around on a boss of Tortuga. To do this, first there should be 2 new chat tabs added to the game, a global chat encompassing every single person on the game, and a chat for the specific server a player is on. I've seen multiple people make posts about how they first logged into the game and saw nobody. They didn't see a single other player or read any messages in chat. They never got close to coming to a boss of Tortuga or joining an active guild. People don't want to stay on an MMO when they can't find or talk to another person. A global chat would give these new players direct access to everyone else in the game, from within the game itself. Right now, if a player comes on and needs help, they would have to get lucky to find someone to help them, or they'd have to look to external sources off of the game. People should not have to look off of the game in order to find out what they need to be doing. I don't want to know how many people have ended up logging onto the game, created a character, then had no clue what they're supposed to do, and found nobody else to talk to. That's why new players leave. The game's retention rate needs to be improved. A global chat would alleviate this issue. A new player could quickly and directly ask in the chat for advice. It would quickly show them the broader community, and not leave them thinking the game is completely desolate. For existing players, I think it's a great quality of life addition that gives everyone access to people that aren't just in your guild or on your friends list or physically around you on the game. This would make guild recruitment easier and just overall improve the cohesion of the community. Now that that's been set up, how do we get the different sects of the community to interact with each other outside of just chatting? I have a relatively simple solution. Make one server a PvP server. Essentially a 24/7 Muertos moon that would allow players to fight each other wherever they want, land or sea, without the zombie effect, of course. To encourage people that aren't inclined to PvP or SVS to get on that server, have constant double or even triple loot, forcing looters to take some risks to get the higher reward. Disable teleportation and stowing away within the server to force people to actually sail to islands, making sure that they can't just avoid SVS. If someone dies on the server, send them to a random wild island so that nobody is camping outside of jails to kill them coming out. If they die on a wild island, send them to a different server. Or, one island could also be designated as a safe zone, with those that die being sent back there. If things go right, this would lead to community interaction and cohesion that TLOPO and even POTCO just didn't have before. If guilds and players organize well enough, it could lead to completely player-driven wars over islands or just server dominance. We could see large-scale conflicts between looters trying to take advantage of the extra loot and different groups going around trying to kill them. If you want to step up guild involvement in this server, make it so that members of the same guild can't damage each other. This is what the game has needed all along, an open PvP-enabled playground for the community to shape the landscape and dynamics of completely on its own. Natural, player-driven interactions are far more sustainable than anything else. It's why roleplay stayed alive even after POTCO closed and continued into TLOPO. Imagine different guilds claiming islands as their own, then invading each other with actual fleet and ground battles, having to not just be competent, but actually good at every aspect of the game. It would give having a wide variety of weapons in actual use, with each of them having specific advantages and disadvantages in island battles. There would be actual strategy involved, and tie all different aspects of the game and its communities together. driving natural and player-driven activity. Now, to piggyback off of this, leaderboards need to be released. Guilds and players need to be able to compare their accomplishments and numbers and have something to compete over. I would suggest a separate leaderboard as well, this one just for the PvP server mentioned previously. Along with all of this, guilds need a bit of a tweak as well. I think that guild creation needs to be limited. Too many guilds are created by one person with no help at all, and it ends up dying, with the guildmaster either going inactive or just hopefully leaving the guild. To increase the chances of new guilds being more successful, there should be something like 3 people required to create a guild in the first place, which is the case in many other games. This makes sure that nobody is starting a guild on their own. They'll have others to look to for help. Too many people in this game are walking around in dead guilds. And finally, one last suggestion. The ship repairing price is way too cheap. Ships are the only actual gold sink in the game, and once you've upgraded all of your ships, you've got nothing else. There needs to be some risk associated with sailing. This will give people a reason to actually value gold, and that will become especially important if a PvP server is created, with ships being sunk at a much higher rate. Keep light ships the way they are, and maybe even medium ships. But warships definitely need a higher repair cost. Now, all of these additions or changes are, at least in my opinion, far simpler than things like Capture the Chest and other updates that the TLOPO team has teased. Keeping updates and new content simple yet effective is what should be striven for. This is what has led to the dwindling player numbers that the game has today. Sights and aspirations are set too high, and it seems that these lofty goals have slowed the project down, taking up time and effort that could have been used fixing bugs or creating lighter content updates that have the ability to be added onto and more fully developed in the future. Having large goals for a project is definitely beneficial, but I think that now, and especially after the release of Lobbies and Capture the Chest, that priority should be refocused on smaller content updates and changes that will have an immediate impact, that will be able to be released in a timely manner, and lay the foundation for what's being planned for the future. The fact is that things are just running on borrowed time here, and it's astonishing that we've made it this far. Something needs to be done before that time runs out.
Also, join the TLOPO community Discord server.